Hello, this is Tom, aka Gedeon here for Tabletop Taproom. Today we have the third and final installment on the bankruptcy hearing. And we will be interviewing Don Semora of Wizard Tower Games and discussing the bankruptcy hearing from his perspective and what it was that he was trying to accomplish there at the hearing. But before we get to that, let me just have a quick word from our sponsor that is now sponsoring Tabletop Taproom, and it's the guys from Gloomer Games with their...
Brought to you by Gloomer Games Mystic Days, the Caldwell Edition. The Kickstarter includes 4 hardbound books, Monsters and Mayhem, Magic and Treasure, Player's Book, and Adventure Guide. OSR style, 6 classic stats, no character classes, you build the character you want, no initiative to slow things down, no OP characters, and death is always on the table. You roll to cast, failure could lead to an explosive catastrophe, and every weapon is unique. Polearms get the place they deserve with every weapon having a reach modifier, and monsters are bestial and not humanized. With fantastic cover art by Clyde Caldwell, this is old school gaming the way you remember. Links below.
So that is Gloomer Games, the Mystic Days Clyde Caldwell edition of the game. The Kickstarter's coming soon. There's actually going to be a tier, a reward tier with signed boxes by Clyde Caldwell himself that I'm very excited about this. So Gloomer Games, thanks for sponsoring the channel, and we're looking forward to your Kickstarter. Now, I just want to say quickly, thanks for watching the video. Thanks to my subscribers. You guys are great. Don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, and bell icon. And let me bring in Don Semora of Wizard Tower Games. Hello, Don. Welcome back.
How you doing, Tom? Cheers. Happy to have me. Thank you.
Yeah. Hey, I'm drinking out of my Tabletop Taproom mug that somebody made for me.
Nice.
That was actually Don who made it for me.
I made it for you. Yeah, no problem.
So thank you very much.
They'll be up on our store here when we get it live here later on this week.
Oh, fantastic. So we are here to talk about the bankruptcy, and we're not able to play a video of it. We can discuss the transcript, and your part. I mean, I've kind of analyzed. I broke it into 2 parts with the show, and analyzed it, went through it, and gave my impressions and my analysis of it. And your portion was very brief, and because, first of all, it actually could have been briefer because you were constantly interrupted, and your questions were never answered, and so you had to restate the question, and then the trustee had to, Mr. Lanassa, I would like to hear the answer to this question, and he did things like, move along, next question. I mean, he just wouldn't even answer your questions.
Yeah, Justin did, not the trustee. It was Justin.
Yeah, right, Justin. So, I mean, what was your overall impression of the final moments of the bankruptcy hearing with your interaction with Justin?
Well, the thing is, if you notice at the end of my interaction with him, I finally just gave up. I was like, listen, this is going nowhere. I'm just going to step back. I'll end this, Mr. Bircher. I'm going to let my evidence and my bits and pieces speak for themselves, because it wasn't going anywhere. I mean, he became, with me, very combative, very aggravated, agitated. Even was ordering me to move on to the next question. And so I think the agitation was telling. Yeah, is what I think. Basically, my overall take of it is, I think it just went the way it went. I have faith in the bankruptcy court. I have faith in the process, and that's why I just stepped back. And I was like, it
was probably wise because the trustee was hinting to you that as briefly as you can, Mr. Semora. But when you were told just move along, next question, the trustee was like, no, I would like to hear the answer, and even then he would not answer the question. So,
I mean, keep in mind one thing: when you have no answers, you don't have the ability to answer the question. And I think that was just kind of a theme throughout the entire hearing, I mean, you were there. You and Tammy both were. So was Eric and Rach. We got a lot of, I don't recall, I don't have that in front of me. I'll have to get that back to you. And usually with these type of hearings, especially something this important, I would have thought at least he would have been prepared. But I don't think, I mean, I think he was. I mean, in all fairness, I think Justin Lanasa was very prepared for the hearing. But what he was not prepared for, Tom, was the questions.
Yeah. He was, very much so. Because that was the theme in the beginning. He was semi-respectful to the trustee, and I don't recall. I don't have. I'll have to get it to you. When you were Hovermale questioned him
before I did.
It was very scripted. It came off very scripted, and then when you were questioning him, he kind of cranked the dial up to 20 and went full on, Boston driving.
Well, I mean, keep in mind with me, there was two very simple things I wanted to cover. As far as my invoicing goes, I think my invoicing speaks for itself. I have a letter from Michael Hovermale that he wrote and that Michael emailed me. So I have that evidence chain, and where Michael confirms that he went over my invoices because Michael wanted to see my invoices, and Michael validated everything except for a couple small things. So my invoicing was really not important to me. I mean, I can very much prove that what I claim I made for him, he used. As far as the NDA that he's claimed that I signed, that was one of the big things with me because, I don't mind if someone disputes an invoice with me because that will fall where it's going to fall. But Justin filed a blatant falsified affidavit when he included an NDA. And that's why I really wanted to include the NDA in the very beginning.
Right.
And, when I asked him the very simple questions, I mean, you would think it was simple. Where did we meet? I don't recall. Then I'd be like, well, who was the person who was present? I mean, someone went ahead and witnessed it. He didn't recall. And then I tried even just going more broad, like, well, when we met, what state were we in? Because I'm from Michigan, he's from North Carolina. So, I mean, logistically, the chances of me driving to North Carolina or him coming to Michigan just to sign an NDA are fairly low. Again, he got really, he got aggravated, angry, combative with me. And finally, at the last minute, just pulled out, Hovermale went ahead and gave it to me. That's it type thing.
Hovermale was in charge of collecting the NDAs. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think kind of like at the last minute, he felt he had an out. And that's already been covered because, as we know, Hovermale was asked about it in the Star Frontiers New Genesis group. And Michael Hovermale made that famous post where he said, I was in charge of the NDAs mostly, and Don never signed or gave me an NDA. So that's been covered now.
Yeah.
So that'll be an interesting thing for them to pan out when Justin's calling Michael a liar. And so, but that's their drama, not mine.
I have a distinct memory of a conversation we had way, way, way back when we first began talking to each other. And we discussed NDAs. Mm-hmm. And I discussed, because I felt like I was being strung along. They were like, oh yeah, we need you to write a Star Frontiers New Genesis rule set. I says, well, I says, what are you looking to do? And they're like, well, we could tell you more, but we have to have you sign an NDA. I says, all right, well, give me the NDA. I'll sign it. And, it was just, and then, 2 weeks go by. Hey, what about that NDA? So I was like, where's this stupid NDA? And then I discovered I was being lied to. And I did a video, which pissed them off, and they didn't like that. But I brought it up and we discussed it. And you said to me way back, I have a very distinct memory that Justin had sent you the NDA, but you had never signed it.
Yeah. And Justin had sent me an NDA. He or one was sent to me. I forget. It was either by Michael or Justin. I think it was Justin who sent it to me, along with a licensing contract. And, the funny thing about these documents is when I got them, they had other people's names in them. So he had not even removed other people's names from these documents. And it was a really clown show kind of thing. It was just surreal almost, but he had the answers to the questions, when you're like, hey, I got this. He's like, oh, don't worry about it. Cause you're trusted and all of that. And that's another thing that I really enjoy about the age we live in. We live in a digital age, so you can claim anything you want. I can claim anything I want. But at the end of the day, the digital forensics don't lie. And so, I have our Discord backup, so I can show him saying that. But, it's just, I have
saying, don't worry about that.
Yeah.
Trusted.
Well, and plus, Hovermale made that post, in a public forum. I don't know if it's still there, but I screenshotted it, and I know you did, and Eric and Kim Winston and Dave Floor and everybody else did, but the point being is that, if you asked me as an example, and this is kind of the thing that tells me about what, and I think let me back up. I hope the bankruptcy court sees this for what it is. But, if I have a friend named Steve, and me and Steve's been friends for 20 years. If you ask me today how I met Steve, I can tell you how I met Steve.
Right.
That was 20 years ago. But yet you can't tell me what state we were in when we signed an NDA that somebody witnessed that when you actually listen to it, he never even answered that. He didn't recall. And it's like, what do you mean you don't recall? This is an individual that is witnessing legal documents. I mean, we're not talking about me and you doing a personal agreement. An NDA is a very serious, very, very powerful legal document. And that was the reason why right at the beginning, I wanted to bring it up. And, his attorney, basically objected to it. But the trustee went, no, we're going to go along. I want to hear this because it has to do with the contract.
Right. So it was the NDA was one facet of your questioning. The other was the handbill, the bill of receipt from when you delivered the dungeon crawl.
Yeah.
And you delivered, and I remember the dungeon crawl. You and I were not talking yet, so I was monitoring heavily what was going on the Dungeon Hobby Shop Facebook group.
Yeah, I was actually in contact with Eric. You didn't know that.
Yeah. And I was monitoring all of this stuff heavily, even though I was blocked. I mean, it's
easy. It's easy. I mean, blocking on social media is silly.
Yeah.
It's worthless.
So, I remember it showing up. Remember the photos? Oh, hey, they're here. We're going to ship them out.
Yeah.
And you had this bill of receipt, which he is now denying that you ever delivered any of this stuff. He's
denying that that I never met him to deliver it, and not only that, he's denying the fact that he signed it.
Yeah.
So he's denying that it was a non-event. So yeah, and he made that very clear in the hearing.
Yeah, he's claimed. I don't know how many times he's actually claimed different amounts of money that you've stolen from him.
I know. It changes.
17,000, 20,000, 25, 27. Yeah, it's like, roulette, the roulette wheel. Let's spin the wheel. See what it's going to be today.
Yeah.
So it's constantly changing with him. Even his attacks that are much more personal nature, constantly changing. It's all I can say is that it seems to me, and maybe you can speak to this better. It seems to me like he is really afraid of you. What is it that makes him so afraid of Don Semora that he's got to be so aggressive, that he's got to make up lies that are just so patently, obviously a lie, and he's desperate to besmirch your name in all of what's going on?
You're asking a question that I have been asked by my attorney. I got asked by the police back when they were called by him on me in February. Oh, and I've been asked by a lot of people. And I think the answer is very simple. It's actually quite more simpler than what people get. Okay. Is, keep in mind one thing is I did a lot of business with Justin. I sold him the rights to Dungeon Crawl, the board game. I did printing and binding for him. I did design work for him. I was very involved in the back end. I was led into the very private, secret Discord two-way chat that became a three-way chat. So it was originally Michael and Justin, and I got brought into that. Mm-hmm. And to Michael's credit, Michael told me the story in front of Justin. Even they all laughed about it. That Michael even said, "Justin, you're letting this guy in. We don't really know who he is, yada, yada, yada." And Justin's like, "Oh, I trust the guy." No, he didn't trust me. He just needed me. So where does Don come into all of this? Why is it Don? Why Don? Good question. Well, it's because Don, I believe, is the key to breaking his corporate protection, his veil of protection on his LLCs. Because Justin, when he paid me, he didn't pay me with a TSR check, or he didn't pay me with a Dungeon Hobby Shop Museum check. I was paid by two different hardwire tattoo accounts. I was paid by Port City Kava Vapor after he was ordered to shut down by the state of North Carolina. That's something that's underway right now. I can't talk about, but I can't, because that's a separate investigation going on. But
that business is still in business, actually.
Yes.
Even though it's shut down.
Yep. And I was also paid by Justin Lanasa DBA checks. So I was paid by a variety of means that have no connection to either of the TSR Hobbies LLC or his idea now that he made up in court that somehow Dungeon Hobby Shop Museum owns all the IP and they're leasing or licensing for $1 a copy or something, some nonsense. But there's where it's at. I can break his veil of protection. He knows I have all the backups. He knows I'm not a friendly entity to him because he went after me immediately. And after I got the subpoena and I had made the announcement in the server at N-World that we had gotten subpoenas, me and Michael both were talking. We said, let's make an announcement. Let's make it publicly. That way there's no questions. We don't want people guessing. So let's just be open and honest, saying, hey, we got hit, a subpoena. We and Justin had talked on the phone. And Justin had said, hey, would you delete, we need to delete all these emails. We need to delete all these Discord chats. Nobody will know. And when I told him no, he told me, hang on for the ride.
So he asked you to, against the subpoena, because when you're subpoenaed, are you not ordered to
there's a, when you get a subpoena, either state or federal, and I'm just telling you what my attorney told me. So I'm going off of my interpretation of what my attorney told me. I'm not a lawyer. That when the subpoena arrives, number one, you cannot destroy or get rid of any evidence that falls under the veil of the subpoena. Right. And Wizards of the Coast was very, they had all their bases covered. I mean, they pretty much in the subpoena named every type of communication that we possibly could have had. And, I don't care how good even a friend you are of mine. I won't lie like that. I mean, it's morally and ethically wrong. Number two, along being morally and ethically wrong, you're not helping yourself, and you're not helping the person that you're helping destroy evidence to do.
Well, you have to ask yourself, are you willing, if I destroy this evidence, am I willing to go to jail for this person?
Well, are you willing to go to jail for the person? Are you willing to be dragged into this, in a way that you should not be dragged into it? To WotC's credit, I never got any warning from WotC as far as, you're going to do it our way or we're going to come after you. They never said that, never. They were under the understanding, because who I was and my dealings online, very open and honest about my dealings with Justin Lanasa. And, and this is where we get into the key thing here. And this is what I kind of I tell everybody, and I've told Michael Hovermale this, timing is everything. Usually you can look at something and it's timing, and then you can gain a lot of perspective from that.
Sure.
Keep in mind, before we announced that we had gotten subpoenas from Wizards of the Coast, take that date, N-World, we'll call that the alpha date. And then you go look behind that. Justin Lanasa never said one bad thing about me. Justin Lanasa never said, where's my games? Justin Lanasa never said, this guy's stiffing me. And let's face it, Justin was very vocal about other people. So if I owe Justin 15, 17, 21, 23, 24, 27, 31 grand, I am sure Justin would have been more vocal about Wizard Tower games. You know,
You would think.
you would think.
You would think.
And you know, plus when you look at the emails and you know, I signed over access to my email. I let them forensically look at it. There's no emails from Justin deleted or anything going, where's my effing games at? Or you owe me money or anything like that. The only thing that's present is Justin, my letters to Justin. Justin, come on, man. You know, I'm a small company. You know, you're not paying me. I got to be paid. I mean, I can't shoulder, you know, $7,000 is a lot of money to shoulder, even in the best of times. And, you know, checks in the mail, I'm getting it to you, I'm transferring property. All of that just was just like pie in the sky. So my idea is I guess my end comment about what am I? I am the key, I think, to a lot of things in a lot of, I can answer a lot of the questions that are open right now, and I can do it with evidence. And that's what scares them, I believe.
Okay. Well, that's a good answer. Yeah. Now you just touched on something, and I was aware of this, but I've kind of stayed quiet on it. You had the police called on you.
Yep, sure did.
And the police showed up at your house. Do you mind talking about that?
Sure. I was at this computer. I was just doing some design work. My daughter was home. Bam, 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 bam on the door, and I'm like, 4:30 in the afternoon. Well, they must got a letter or something in the mail, because sometimes UPS will bang on the door before they walk away, or got to sign. I do a lot of design work for a lot of publishers, so sometimes they'll send me like their drafts, and they'll make me sign for them, because they're important documents. So I figure it was that. When I walk out my living room, as soon as you walk out my living room, I got this big picture window, big ass picture window. I can see my driveway and front yard. I had like 2 plain cars, 2 sheriff's vehicles in my driveway, one up on my lawn. I got freaking cops walking on my front. I'm like, what the hell's going on? And I mean, thought my wife, because my wife was not home from work yet.
Oh, jeez.
And I thought, oh God, what happened to Tina? Was there a shooting at her school?
Oh yeah.
So I open the door up, and there's detective there. I step on, I'm like, can I help you? And he's like, you Don Semora? I'm like, yeah. What? I have a search warrant for your house. I'm like, huh? I'm like, wait a minute here. What's this about? He goes, you know what, Justin Lanasa? And I literally went, oh, come on in, come on, step in. And I invited him in at that point. Not like I had a choice, but I figure, and, it didn't go down like you think. They didn't, tip over the couches or anything. They actually just sat down with me. I said, can I go get the file? He said, sure. He walked back with me because, it's a search warrant. They got to make sure I'm not, flushing shit down the toilet.
Right.
And I got the big file I had. We sat down at my kitchen table civilly, and we just went through step by step. And I think what happened was, I think they walked in with one intent, and then they started seeing things. And I started showing them documentation. I got on the phone with Wizards of the Coast. They answered right back. They called. The detective talked to Wizards of the Coast counsel. So I think that they walked up to the door thinking one thing, and then very quickly it became obvious that it just wasn't quite what was presented.
Right.
And the only thing they did search warrant wise, and I'll be very open about this, is the one female detective said, do you mind if I take pictures of your house? I said, no, you're going to do it anyways. I mean, we got to tell them no, so she took photos of my house, which is no big deal. And that was it. And they took the documentation. They took my phone. And yeah, that was it.
Well, I remember that the warrant actually said that they were supposed to take all of your computers.
Yep.
But they never did that.
No, they did not. The only electronic device that they took in the entire house was my telephone, and they took the file, my big file that I had on Justin, which had like my FBI complaint in it. It had my delivery receipt, it had all of that stuff in it, right. And so they took that. I got, and at that point, like I said, I involved a lawyer immediately, of course.
Well, I want to comment on that because I actually talked to 2 retired. Well, one's a disabled state police officer in Massachusetts. So a friend of mine, a gamer friend of mine. And then obviously everybody can probably guess I talked to Eric Tenkar. Mm-hmm. And the opinions that I got, why they did not take your other computers was that when they just took your phone was that the opinions that were shared to me was that it was the least, the minimal that they could do and still honor the warrant, because they had to honor the warrant.
Yeah.
And but it was kind of like a dawning realization that this was a BS call.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what it was, because when I got Sarissa involved in it, my attorney, all these attorneys who do criminal defense and that type of stuff, they know all the detectives. They've all worked together. They've all done stuff together. I mean, these counties are not as big as we think they are, and I think the idea was just the best medicine when you get hit with a situation like this. There's a few things. Number one, you stay calm. Okay, that's number one. You stay calm. You be cooperative, I believe. And I think number three is that you let the process pan out. You let them do their job, because when you're innocent, I don't care if they look into me. When you're guilty is when you're like, how do I hide this? I don't want to answer this question. I don't want to do this. I mean, I know that you see on TV a lot. They say, once they read you your rights, don't talk to them. Call that lawyer. Call 1-800, type thing. I believe that you got to be careful what you say to police, because you don't know what kind of cop you're dealing with, because there are good cops and bad cops. The detective that I was dealing with, he seemed to me very fair. I think in all honesty, I think that he was interested in. I don't think he had a dog. I don't think he had a dog in the fight. I think what it was I think that he received a complaint. It was for a significant amount of money. Let's be honest. I know Justin. Justin can come across very nice when he needs to, and I know how Justin is, and I felt, especially with my folder of information that I kept, combined with my phone, because what's on my phone? It's all of my phone records, my text with Justin, because I didn't delete any of that.
Right.
And and I know what they're going to do. They're going to take all that. They're going to ghost it. They're going to take it all. And I figured, let them go start on day number 1, June of 2021, and let them read the hundreds and hundreds of texts. It'll very easily see what's going on here. Yeah. And then when they start getting into the March timeframe, and there's no text going, where are my fucking games? Where's my shit at? Why don't you? Nothing, because he had it all.
Yeah.
In fact, there was stuff in there saying, I want you to make more for me. So I knew that was there, and that's why I kind of stepped back and I just went, you know what?
Here's the phone.
I'm going to cooperate. I'll get my lawyer involved, because there's one golden rule. When they serve you with a search warrant like that, you I don't care who you are, get a lawyer involved, let them handle it.
Right.
And that's what I did. And I followed her advice to the T. And at the end of the day, they didn't do any charges. They dropped the case. They said that the case was closed.
Now, when I heard that this had happened, I was like, oh, he screwed up, because there was an order for him not to communicate with you, not to harass you.
Yes.
He's been doing all those things.
Yes.
And the only reason he did not get slammed in federal court is when we looked into it, we discovered that the complaint was made 2 days before the judge.
Yeah, a few days before the order was signed. So he really theoretically, he was not in violation of the order.
Right. He
should have technically at that point stopped it. But, Wizards of the Coast kind of looked into it, and even they kind of viewed it as, listen, they're not going to hold his feet to the fire over this.
Right.
But once the case was dismissed, and like he said in the bankruptcy court filing, or not the bankruptcy court filing, at the bankruptcy court hearing, remember he kept saying there was nothing. He kept telling people, I have warrants for my arrest. I have charges pending on me.
Yeah.
Still waiting. That was checked into by my attorney, North Carolina, Michigan, and Wisconsin. I mean, we checked all the states involved. No. And the thing is, with him pursuing this now, if he is, he's in violation of the protective order. And on top of that, he's also, for his post on social media, he's in violation, but that's a whole different video. I'd rather not. That's being looked in. That's being looked at. Let's put it that way.
So, yeah. All right. Well, we went there, and we can move on. Now, one of the other things that has been going on, part of the harassment, that, hold on, you're in for a ride. I just learned that from you, and I'm like, oh my God, he wasn't kidding when he said, hold on.
Oh yeah, I've been on quite a ride.
So yeah, cops. I mean, on a felony. I mean, that would have been a felony charge if
huge
because of the amount of money involved. Yeah. I believe it's you go over 1,500, it becomes a felony, isn't it?
In Michigan, it's anything over, I think, 250 or something like that. But then they got like stages, like they got like over 10,000, over 20,000, and the higher the money amount is, the more serious the back end tack on is at.
Yeah, in the state of Maine, I believe it's 1,500. So you can break into like a business and steal $1,499. Don't quote me on this. I'm not a lawyer.
Yeah.
But however, on the other side, if you break into a residence and steal $1, it's a Class D felony. I do know that.
In Michigan, it's quite the opposite. You break into a residence, period, that is considered, they call it home invasion.
Yeah.
And then if you survive the attempt, because in Michigan, if you enter my home, I can put a few rounds in your forehead, and I'm legally allowed to do that. So if you survive the felony, just going into it is home invasion. In Michigan, home invasion is considered a violent crime. So it adds, it has a whole bunch of ramifications to it. I mean, it's not simple the old days. Breaking and entering, no, it's home invasion. It's serious in Michigan.
But he was claiming that you had defrauded him of over 20 grand, I believe. And
I believe the report was over $30,000.
Oh, so yet another number, actually.
Yeah. He's kind of like danced around a whole bunch of different numbers. It changes all the time. I'm sure his attitude now, whatever in his fantasy world he has.
So yeah, that's like a felony charge.
That's big time. If that went through, I would be in a serious world of very, very serious, life-changing, me being 55 years old, the penalties on that would essentially be a life sentence for me in Michigan. And he's willing, and this is the whole thing. This is the part that bugs me about Justin. There have been people in my life I've hated. There's been people in my life I've been mad at.
Okay.
But to do something like this to somebody over a lie, knowing that what you're doing could ruin this man, his family, he doesn't care. He in his eyes, if he has to do it to save face, if he has to do it to save his ass, he will do anything to do it, including lie to police. I mean, it's one thing to tell a cop, I didn't see who ran from the house, but he's willing to do full-fledged police reports and just make up this lie after lie. And for what? So because I would not lie for him. I mean, no, I just sit here and I just think about the ramifications if this would have been the wrong kind of police officer who didn't care what the evidence said. My life could have been destroyed. My wife's life could have been destroyed. My daughter's lives could have been destroyed over what? The fact that he's doing this to cover his ass so he can keep access to his games. Yeah. I mean, excuse my French here, but what the ever-loving fuck mode of thinking goes through a person's head where they're willing to destroy another human being's utter life so they can keep rights to a freaking board game? That's the thing. Think about that alone. Any of the nonsense with Justin, all the, BS, all of his transphobic crap, his anti-gay crap, that's all just BS. He was willing to destroy a man's utter life so he could keep his ability to sell his games. Nope.
Well, it just boggles my mind that he owes you money, but he's going to allege that you owe him 30 grand.
And that's kind of like the spit in the face. That's the smack in the nose, is I'm the one owed cash. I've done nothing but, and I know Hovermale will never acknowledge it now because he's now back with Lanasa, I believe. But the thing is I was always the one, he'd message me at 9:00 at night. Hey, Don, can you work quickly and make this thing for me? And I'd be up till midnight, 1:00 making the graphic for him and make sure he gets it in Discord. Did nothing but bust my ass for the guy and help him. And because I wouldn't play along and I wouldn't join in on his BS games, I become the enemy, and it culminates in this fraudulent police report that he made about me. So the way I look at Justin is this: fuck him. I will fight his lies with nothing but the truth, because I got plenty to back me up. Ain't nothing I'm saying that I can't back up 100% with validatable proof, whether you want to go digital forensics or whatnot.
Sure. Okay, so let's move on from Justin, because he's luckily the federal bankruptcy at court, I think, is going to make him old news. So let's talk about Michael Hovermale. He has been since he got outed for working with Lanassa. We knew he was working with Lanassa. I lost my cool with him during a live stream on Eric Tenkar's Friday night show. And I blew a gasket, and I let slip that we knew he was working with Lanassa, that he was a traitor. And since then, he's done this. I designed D20 Delving, your Kickstarter. You talked with me a couple years ago now, because I kept saying, "Oh, dude, you got to do this. You got to do this. I want to back that Kickstarter."
Yeah.
And he's, I'm the one who did it, and he's doing all these lies. Is there any substance at all to what he claims about D20 Delving?
You know what? No, and I'm gonna tell you exactly how this all went down. And I met with Tim Kask and Jim Wampler yesterday. We sat on Tim's back porch. We talked games and development, all that. And Jim Wampler made a really good point. And this is kind of, I'll go back to that in a minute. What happened? What had happened here is this. Just like me and you have done, you've said, "Hey, Don, I got a question for you. I got this game I'm developing," and you tell me about it. I go, Tom, idea. If you did A, B, or C, I think that'd be really cool. And you go, "Oh, thanks for the idea. If you used A, B, and C together, it doesn't make me a co-creator of the game. I don't even deserve a mention as a contributor, because as friends, we're sitting down. It's a Sunday morning. We're on video. We're shooting the shit, just talking and everything. You tell me about your game projects. I tell you about mine. You throw some info at me. I throw some info at you. We're just shooting the shit, it's called. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And, it's you're proud of what you got going. And that was with me and Michael. Be on video, and Michael would be talking about Legacy Engine, his role-playing game that him and Logan developed. And, be talking about maybe a problem in the rules he has. He doesn't really know how he wants to do this. And me being fresh mind to that, I would throw my ideas at him and everything. And it was the same thing with D20 Delving and other games, just talking about my games. He'd be like, "Well, what about this? Or what about that?" And, did I use any of his ideas? Very well possible. I mean, we're sitting there just talking. I mean, we all get influenced on things that happen in our lives. You know what I mean? And that's kind of what Jim kind of echoed yesterday, talking like, that's what friends do. You guys are talking and you're mashing out and you're talking about things you're proud of and you're working on. And, let's face it, when you got two game developers on a video call, you're going to talk games. It's very rarely you're not, It's like me, Tim, and Jim were sitting at the table yesterday at Tim's house. We talked games. I mean, we weren't talking about, how's your wife's roses, Tim? And, Don, how is your wife's quilting? No, we talk games,
Right.
But the thing is I think one of the problems that Michael has is Michael believes that if Michael throws out a few ideas, he has become part of it. He has become a co-creator. He has become, and he echoed that in his email to Tim Kask about me. But he doesn't, he carries it further than that. And, the only reason why Michael got mad at me, let's just be blunt here, is because I found out Michael had on his what is it called? It's at LinkedIn.
Yeah.
He had on LinkedIn, he had a post that he worked contract for Wizard Tower Games, and that he was involved in the development of D20 Delving, including, he went on, including, game design, graphic design, board game, rule prep, blah, 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 including gaining and grabbing the talent of Tim Kask for the game. Me and Tim have been in contact with each other for 2 years prior to that. You know, and I think I made it clear on my video I made about the whole situation. I proved that was all my stuff from years ago. I mean, I went right into looked at the properties and everything of it. But I think sadly that's the thing with Michael, is Michael did that. So when I saw the LinkedIn stuff, and I'm going to go back a little bit. I'm going to kind of step back from that for 1 second. The reason why Michael did that is because back when Michael left TSR Hobbies, Michael came to me and Michael was virtually, I'm not joking, he was virtually in tears. He was upset because he's like, Don, what am I going to do about the last 9 months of my life? He goes, I can't put TSR Hobbies down because when people Google TSR Hobbies, they're going to see all this racist and transphobic stuff and my name's going to be attached to it. I am freaking screwed. And I was like, tell you what, Michael, I'll help you out. We're friends. Put down Wizard Tower games that you worked with me contract. We'll be working on games here because he's talking about working with me on games. I said, we're going to be working on games in the future. Just put me down as a reference. Give him my number. I'll give you a good nod. And, but he had that in his LinkedIn and I'll send you a copy of it so you can show it on the video here.
Sure.
when you make it live. But I sent him a series of, or 2 messages in Discord. And I basically just told him, I said, Michael, you can't be doing that. You know, stop that. You didn't do that. You were not a part of the development of D20 Delving. You gave some feedback. And I was very succinct. And then he edited it, but he didn't edit it fully. So then I sent him an even stronger message. And now it's at the point where he got mad at me, butt hurt, and decided to take his ball and go home, you know? And, you know, enough is enough.
Did Michael ever develop a game with you?
No, I matter of fact, many times, because he kept saying, I want to do something with Wizard Tower games. I was like, what do you want to do? And he would say, he would never answer it. Like, I don't know. I don't know about my time. You know, I got everything scheduled now. I work on a schedule. I'm like, what do you want to do? You want to do a board game? You want to do a card game? You want to do, you know, you want to do an RPG? What do you want to do? You know, you name it. I'm open. And so I finally then got even to the point where I can bring you in, but you know, we got to get a schedule down. You got to be able to dedicate time to this. I mean, you can't dedicate, you know, here and there. We got to have a rigid timeline. You got to be able to dedicate time to the project. And when I finally got him really nailed down, he literally told me in Discord, and this is on Discord written, he literally said that he could dedicate 1 hour on a Sunday to it.
How long would that? All right, you've developed a number of games. How long would that take if you only worked 1 hour on a Sunday?
Well, if we started the game today, me and you probably could be proudly displaying the completed project sometime in 2035. You know? No, I'm not. I mean, it sounds silly, but that's literally what he committed to. He's like, I can dedicate about an hour on Sundays because he had things, you know. And I have a. This is just my personal work ethic. If you want it, you got to work for it.
Right.
And that's why on a Friday night, I'll be at my computer designing my games at 1 o'clock in the morning. The problem with Michael is Michael has a very set schedule. You know, he games with his son. They play this dwarf fighting game, this where they're battling mutants or something. He has to play that game with his 23-year-old son or 21-year-old son. You know, that's how they bond. You know, that's where he spends several hours per week doing it. But yet he wants to be a game designer. And with Michael, it was always, well, let me get back to you next week. Let me get back. I'll get back to you in a few days. I'll get back to you next month. And that's the problem with Michael, I believe. And I'm not trying to be mean, but if you're going to try to steal my smoke, I'm not going to tolerate it. You know, I will openly admit that me and Michael talked about D20 Delving, D20 Krieg, a lot of my games. But it was just like me and you right now before this video started. We sat down, we were talking about all kinds of different things, me and you.
Yeah.
You know, and
well, I know that you're working on a setting and a map.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, you talked with me about it, and I gave you some feedback. I says, you know what,
sure.
you want to do the history of the world. You want to do like first age, 2-3 paragraphs, second age, 2-3 paragraphs. Yeah. I gave you that feedback. And that doesn't entitle me in any shape or form to writing credit. I just gave you feedback that, hey, this is what I would do. Do not write. You're not writing the Silmarillion. You're not Tolkien.
Yeah.
Make it easy. 1-page history, easy to digest. That's
but the problem with Michael is when you listen to Michael, anyone who's actually engaged Michael on a private level, Michael will tell you about the other game companies who have screwed him. He'll tell you about, the game company where he sent the ideas on how to make the game better, and they used his ideas and then cut all contact from him. So this is kind of like a stage that he does. He believes in. I'm not taking away Michael's belief, because I believe he actually believes he co-created D20 Delving in other games. I believe he believes it. But his character flaw is not my problem. And when he goes behind my back and he emails people like Tim Kask and others, trying to deliberately sabotage my working relationship with these people out of what? Jealousy? I'm going to draw the line at that. I'm not trying to pick a fight with the guy.
Tim Kask made it pretty clear in his curmudgeon in the
yeah, I think he made it very clear
what he thought.
And Tim kind of made it. I'll let Tim just speak for himself on that. They can go, but you might want to link the video, and it's right around 51 minutes where he makes it extremely clear, because he mentions D20 Delving and how Tim met me. I mean, he makes it rather clear. But the thing is, I wish Michael well. I hope his graph paper architect goes well. Matter of fact, the graphic that he uses on his YouTube channel, I made that for him. Imagine that. And the thing is, I hope he does well in it. I hope he does well with his life coaching. I hope he does well with his DM coaching business. But again, how long has it been? It's been, a month? And he hasn't put a video up. I mean, again, it's next week. It's next month. I think the problem with Michael is, and Michael, I'm happy to do a live video and discuss it with Michael if he ever wants to. Mm-hmm. But I'll say it a million times about Michael. It's not the fact that Michael lacks ideas. It's not the fact that Michael lacks the ability to make a game. Michael, I believe, lacks the initiative to dig into the trench, get dirty, get muddy, be up on a Friday night at 11:30, 12 o'clock at night, deving your game. Spend that time away from the wife, because damn well you're working to make something for the family.
Right.
And I'm not saying everybody has to jump on Don's bandwagon of the way I work, but when I make a decision to begin something and work on it, I'm all in, because especially being a one-man operation with, this person's doing a little bit for you, that person's doing a little bit. I'm a one-man show as a company by and large. So I have to wear many hats, but I also have to be willing to put the time in. And there's where it's all at. To do a game is a process. It takes time and effort. And I just don't see him having the initiative to do that. Again, I wish him luck. I really do, Tom. I'm not mad at Michael. I really am not even really mad at what he did with Tim. I'm sad about it. I'm disgusted about it. I really thought that even though he had been in contact with us, I really thought that we had a friendship. So, I guess I'll just end it like this. I just really wish him well. I hope that he rethinks a lot of things a lot of paths he's going down on, because I think that at the very end of the day, Lanaso will do to him what he did to me. He'll throw him to the wolves.
Sure. Back the bus right over him.
Yeah, he will.
All right. Well, so let's do a palate cleanser question. And what can we expect to see from Wizard Tower Games in the future?
Okay. D20 Krieg is done. Completely done. But I'm going to do a round of playtesting here in September. Me and Tim Kask are working on the Lost Modules of GaryCon. They are 2 modules from GaryCon 1 and 2. And I'm having to expand my world to accommodate some of the bits and pieces within it. That's the kind of map I was telling you about I was working on.
Right.
This is going to be a limited edition. This is coming out in September. It's going to be available in late September, early October. It's going to be a limited edition hardcover print, limited to 250 copies. And that's going to have all kinds of goodies in it. Full color, right across the board. And then it's going to have a soft cover, black and white.
These are Tim Kask modules?
Yes. These are modules written by Tim Kask that he brought to GaryCon 1 and 2.
Competition modules.
Yes, they're right here.
Cool.
And then also I have a
want an email. I want to jump on board.
We got you hooked up, don't worry. then along with that, I have my player character record sheets for 1E5E that I designed. It's a much cooler looking, I believe, player character record sheet. I've got my equipment cards, which are going to be cards that the DM can have. So like when Tom and Don are playing and Don presents Tom and says, you found a chest and inside is a flask of oil and a bullseye lantern, I can give you the flask of oil card and a bullseye lantern card. And then when you use the flask of oil, you give me my card back. So it's a more tactile way to track your equipment. That's done and complete. That's actually going to be when I get my 320 GSM, I'm going to be printing those. Along with that, me and Tim are going to be doing a few other projects I can't announce right now. But one is a module that he did that is very close to his heart, involving mice. And Tim watches this video, or Jim, they'll know what I'm talking about. But got lots of stuff on the crux. I mean, I've been really busy, D20 delving. We went ahead, we did a stopgap measure just in case something happened, in case paper was delayed or we had an issue. We did order a block of games from overseas from a supplier, which I did. So we're expecting those any day now. So once those happen, we're going to be sending out the Kickstarter stuff for that. So the Krampus packs and the D20 board games will be going out here shortly, as soon as I get them. But there's a whole slew of small products that I'm literally almost done with, but I've been so involved now in this this limited edition game with Tim that I've been kind of dedicating all my time in. So lots of good stuff. We're going to be announcing it on our pages, and I got a new rule, and I'm guilty of this, and I'll say this openly with my right hand held up, apologies to people, is, even though I have the best intentions, sometimes I say something's coming out in June, and then June comes and it's not out. That doesn't look good on me as a company. It doesn't look professional, and it's not professional. So if you guys noticed on my social media, I have not been announcing hard dates yet. So my idea is this: when I have the game done and I'm ready to print it, that's when I'm going hard date.
Okay.
And that's when the hard date. We're getting ready to do a new website that is going live any day now, with a nice expanded store. And inside that will be the limited edition print for the Lost modules of Gary Con. We're going to do pre-sales on those. So there's only going to be 250 copies. So whoever sees this, if you're going to want one, you're going to want to grab it while you're grabbing is good, because I got people messaging me that found out about it. They're saying, like, I got one guy who wants 10 copies. So, we're going to try to make it where we can share the love with everybody. We're not going to let somebody do that. I'm going to limit it to like 5 copies at the most per person, because I want to make sure as many people can enjoy it as possible.
Right.
But lots of good stuff coming. Just like I said, I have been very, very preoccupied with this whole police report BS that he pulled on me, trying to get that straight. I don't want to be in prison, because if I'm in prison, I can't be releasing games. So, it's kind of like a step process.
Well, I hear they play role-playing games in prison sometimes.
Yeah. Maybe get lucky, get the right facility, right? Be able to play some D&D in jail, right? God, I just can't reiterate that. I just can't wrap my mind around someone who has never wronged you, and you're just going to do this to cover your butt. It's just, I can't wrap myself around that personality type.
Yeah.
But it is.
Well, it's sociopathic is what it is.
Yeah.
It is. All right. Well, this was we've covered the 20 controversy with Michael Hovermale. We've covered the bankruptcy, what's going on. We covered the, you mentioned it. So I said, let's talk about the police showing up at your house.
Sure.
Because I've been sitting on that. I didn't know if I could reveal that or not. And
no, I actually revealed it on social media. I mentioned it, I think, in the Star Frontiers New Genesis page. So
much stuff happens. I'm like, I'm not sure what I'm supposed to be keeping under my hat anymore, so I just try to keep most things.
Well, the thing is, this is where this is all at. Tim Cass said it best. Once we can put the stain of this whole new TSR debacle behind us as a gaming community, we will be much better, because we all can get back to what everybody loves and wants. We want to make games. We want to game. We want to be friends, and we want to make friends. And this has created so many divisions in our community. It's sad.
And we don't need the divisions,
Agreed.
Said to me, I had bought a product from somebody who's kind of famous for leaning to the right, But then I turn around, I bought this other product, and they're like, oh, that guy, that guy's woke. I don't care. He draws good maps. I like his maps. So what?
I love the game. That's the whole point. That's a really good way to end this. I don't care what your politics are. Me and you have never discussed who we voted for in the last election. Never. I think I know who you voted for, but guess what? I don't give a shit. Even being friends. I mean, off the video camera, we're good friends. I mean, I consider you a very good friend of mine.
So you and I, we don't talk politics or religion. Well, we might have talked a little religion.
We've talked a little bit of politics too, but it wasn't anything that was. I mean, we're sitting here and we can't even remember what we said because that's how important it was. It's like I don't go back and I go, oh, okay, I'm gonna get my little notes out on Tom. I mean,
yeah,
okay.
We talk. I would say 90% of what we talk about. Well, no. I would say 80% of what we talk about is gaming. There's like another 19% we talk about the bullshit with TSR and Lanasa. And then 1% is everything else.
Agreed.
So that would be my thing. And so I just want to encourage everybody out there. Hey, let's just game.
Yep.
Who cares what your politics are? Nobody does.
That's right.
And, let's just roll some dice and have a good time. That's what it is. So this is Tom and Don signing out for Tabletop Tap Rooms. Good interview, Don. I really appreciate having you on.
Thanks for having me.
I appreciate our talk before we even started recording.
Yeah.
And so everybody out there, please keep on gaming, roll some dice, have a good time. Just don't do it with anything from Nu TSR.
That's right. And it could be a problem for too much longer.
Well, yeah, it's all going to be seized.
Yep.